Japan. 9.0 earthquake. Act of God or nature? 30-foot tsunami. Act of God or nature? Malfunctioning nuclear reactors. I take this very personally because almost exactly 32 years ago, I was 1 mile away from the nuclear reactor at 3 Mile Island when it malfunctioned. Now, last year in this group, I told the complete story. It's up on Story Salon, so I don't want to go into all of the details, but suffice it that it was 1 mile away. We did not evacuate until the exact same announcements that were going down the streets in Japan happened for me. Stay inside, keep your doors and windows closed, don't go outside unless you absolutely have to. And at that point, my friends got through, we evacuated to 150 miles away, which was the first time we saw television and saw exactly what we had been up against. When I got back to Los Angeles, I was in post-traumatic stress before we even knew that the term existed. And I went through some very wildly crazy behaviors. I gained weight very quickly. I drank to excess for the first time in my life. Anybody looked at me, we could have sex with each other. I had suicidal thoughts while driving my car up on Mulholland. It was a very difficult time for me, and it only turned around when, about a year later, I moved to Israel, not knowing if I would ever come back, and I met people who had survived a lot worse than just a nuclear reactor leaking down the block. There was a lot that I went through. During this time, I learned from watching television. I heard Dr. Helen Caldicott, who's a nuclear activist, say that the statistics were that after exposure to low-level radiation, such as we were exposed to at 3 Mile Island, we could expect leukemia to show up in 5 to 7 years, heart tumors in 12 to 15. And at that point, a clock in the back of my head started ticking down to cancer. I did everything in my power that I could. I did emotional healing. I started having more of an organic diet. I took more vitamins. And it seems that I got through that period of time. It was beyond 15 years and I dodged the bullet. But I hadn't really encountered the fact before that my energy was starting to go down, that I had less stamina. And starting in my late 40s, I was finding myself being too tired to live the life that I wanted to live. Now, I went to doctors, I went to holistic healers, and nobody could figure out what in the world was wrong with me. And so I went, well, this is getting old, I just have to live with it. Maybe it's menopause, maybe it's something else. And I only got diagnosed a year and a half ago with severe adrenal fatigue. I've been on a lot of things, and I've been healing since then. But the point is that adrenals are the master gland over the thyroid, and they are exhausted by stress, and stress is cumulative. I'm haunted by the fact that one of the questions on a diagnostic test was, when was the last time you remember feeling completely well? And the answer was, more than 30 years ago, meaning before 3 Mile Island. So while I didn't develop any of the more dramatic symptoms, what I have was part of the cumulative effect of being there. So in my healing, I've been doing all kinds of diet and lifestyle changes in order to bring my health back, and I'm able to be here on Wednesday night most nights, which is extraordinary because there was a long period of time where I had no energy to do so. And that's why when all of this started happening in Japan, from the first notice that there was something wrong with a nuclear reactor, I became absolutely riveted to the reports. I sleep with my laptop computer next to me because when my insomnia hits in the middle of the night, I go to NewYorkTimes.com to see the updates because they are doing the most passionate and the most complete reporting on this. Now here's some of the things to think about. Radiation is forever. Those cooling rods that they're talking about that are so overheated that they have to cool down, what they don't bother to say is that they're so impregnated with radiation that they have a half-life of 24,000 years. I can't think of any containment system we can imagine now that we can create that can create a safe container for that debris for the future. What they're being exposed to over there, they're saying, well, the radiation is going up into the air, but at least it's not going over a landmass, it's going over the ocean. Where do they think it's going after that? It's going into the water, where It's fed upon by plankton, that get fed upon by krill, that get fed upon by small fish, that get fed upon by large fish, and guess who eats the big fish? That would be us. Or maybe, depending on how high the plume goes, it can come all the way over here to the west coast. They're saying that to us, no, it's not going to happen. But nobody can tell us for sure it's not going to happen because that's ongoing right now. And it's 2 reactors that are in meltdown and several others that are in danger of it. It comes to a landmass, it lands in the soil, it stays there, it goes into the grass, the cows eat the grass, they make milk, we eat dairy, there you have it. And on like this. Here's the point, Earth is a closed system. We are on a rock in the middle of a bubble in the middle of space. What happens on Earth stays on Earth except for a little bit of space debris that we managed to get off the planet. What's going on over there will affect us here if it hasn't already emotionally as it has for me. I look at this and then I look at the fact that our government is saying to us, we'll have safe nuclear energy here in the United States. Nuclear energy is clean, green, and sustainable, and we really need it. Well, I'm sorry, no, we don't. In World War II, FDR had the country pull together, make sacrifices for the common good to help what were soldiers fighting a good fight, and they did. If we had honest leadership right now, we could move away from the nuclear model. Here are some things to think about here in Southern California. The San Onofre Fault, just down the coast off the I-5, it's within 5 miles of a major earthquake fault which is under the ocean. They're proud of saying, oh, it can withstand an earthquake of 7.0, and we have a tsunami wall. It's a 25-foot tsunami wall. It was 30 feet in Japan. They can withstand 7.0. Excuse me, Japan was 9.0. Would somebody bother to do the math? We have problems up with Diablo Canyon, which was outside of San Luis Obispo. That's built on top of an active earthquake fault. Here's the point. I've gotten very involved in this. Very emotionally involved, to the point where I've gotten involved with squabbles that I don't belong in simply because I have been on edge. So instead what I did earlier this evening was what I have to do every day as part of my physical recovery, and that is I touch earth. I do it a lot of times in my backyard. It doesn't take long to plant a seed, put something in the ground, actually feel what it is that we live on top of. This evening I went out for a walk with my dog on a fire road, and I sat there and I just looked, and it was a blue sky. And it was a green area, and I saw bunnies, and I heard a coyote. And it was beautiful. What are we doing? And what can we do? Absolutely fearless. Libbe HaLevy.